Hello and welcome to the Wise Guys Podcast, episode 113. I am Brandon Capozziello. With me today is John Tortorelli and Rudy Ray from the Dive In Deep Show podcast. Uh, Great to have you guys here. It's first time meeting Rudy, special guest. So, how you guys doing this fine morning?
I'm pumped up, man.
Yeah, I'm excited to be on, man. I've been watching you guys. I watch Pick a Side, so we've had John on our show, so it's fun, man.
And today we'll be discussing the biggest deals of the 2023 NBA draft. And Rudy is a diehard Rocket fan for any of you that don't know. So we'll be discussing do the Rockets acquire too much young talent. On top of that, we'll discuss Draymond to the Kings potentially, and we'll wrap up this show with a little NFL topic as we discuss with a fellow Cowboy fan, the first one we've ever had on the show. Cowboys, Eagles, who is the best team in the NFC East. I'm pretty excited to do this one today because the draft and the NFL previews are two of the most exciting points of this time of year.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So the draft was Thursday, a couple of days ago. We're a couple of days removed. Victor Wembanyama, obviously the heralded number one overall pick since basically the beginning of the season. We knew that this guy was going number one. The hype is there. The hype is real. Generational talent. Chris Broussard saying if he ain't KD, AD, or Hakeem, that's a failure. And last month we found out that Victor would be headed to San Antonio, a great place, a place that when it happened, I was like a light bulb went off in my head. And I was like, oh, of course he's going to San Antonio. Like it's literally like we should have saw it coming, right? We go from David Robinson, Tim Duncan, Victor. So let's talk about the biggest draft winners. I know probably talking about the Spurs is going to be a little redundant. Everybody, they're the draft winners, right? They won the sweepstakes. So let's hear it. I don't know which one of you guys wants to take it first, but who are the biggest draft winners? Who are the steals, the lottery? Let's talk about it.
Rudy?
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about the Rockets, and I'm not trying to be biased, but I do think we are somewhat winners. I think we got a big steal with Cam Whitmore. It's the guy that was projected. I saw top 5 on John. You said top 7 before we got started, but
I had him top 5.
You had him top 5? Yeah, so he was up there, and the fact that he fell that hard, I mean, it could be a big blessing for us because we do have some pretty good guys already at that wing position, but you just bring in another one who has that high potential. I don't see how it's in any way like a bad pick. I mean, it can only be described as a great pick in my opinion.
There's no doubt. To me, it was not only getting Cam at 20, but also aiming at 4 because the Rockets need a point guard desperately. I like Ty Washington, but he might just be better served as a spark plug off the bench. Think Cole Anthony with better playmaking, maybe. And the thing was, so many teams were trying to trade back in. The Pacers were the most notable one. Into the teens. The Lakers pick at 17. The Heat at 18. The Warriors at 19. But it wasn't up until the 20th overall pick where the Rockets said, this is ending here. We've got, I think it was Shams reporting because he was on top of everything, including leaking certain betting odds as he works at FanDuel. Shams reported this is where the slide is going to end. It seems the Rockets are lasered in, and I felt like for them, no team got better value. You fill in your starting point guard of the future. You hope that Steven Silas now is not in the picture. Ime Udoka is. He's going to develop Amen. And on top of that, the discipline will help all the other guys who are already in that young core. But to me, I thought one of the biggest draft winners that no one's really given enough shine to is the Utah Jazz. 9th overall pick, they take Taylor Hendricks out of UCF, one of the better 3-and-D wins in this draft class. To me, he's going to be one of the better shot blockers in the league, one of the better three-point shooters. He's got a good amount of athleticism too. So while he's mostly right now a stationary shooter, at 19 years old, you can see him growing into something more down the line. He's drawn some Jeremy Grant comparisons, but I think a mix of PJ Washington, maybe a little bit of Jaden McDaniels, or 2 comps I saw that fit well. Then with the 16th pick, they take Keontae George out of Baylor, just one of the best scorers in this class, craft, deception, 3-level scoring. And then at pick 28, you go with another scorer and Bryce Sensabaugh, different body type out of Ohio State. All 3 of these prospects were one and dones, but they have a lot of potential. And really, Sensabaugh at 28, I thought he was a top 20 prospect in this class. So all things considered, Danny Ainge has been one of the best player development guys, one of the best GMs at finding talent in the draft. And this was yet another year where got pretty good value.
I want to ask you guys a question. Either one of you can take it. I'm not, deep into the NBA draft process, the college basketball. I'm gonna watch this upcoming season, but that's because Bronny James is coming, and I think that's just gonna be must watch. So I watched when Zion was there. I watched when big name guys are coming up. That's when they catch my eye, and I'm like, okay, let me pay attention to this guy, right? So number 2 and number 3, right? There was a lot of rumors heading up that Scoot would have been the guy. Then Brandon Miller kind of came up late, I guess I would say, seeing from outside looking in. Do you think Charlotte made the right decision taking Brandon Miller over Scoot Henderson?
No. Brandon Miller in many classes is a worthy top 2 pick. And I think he's going to have a really good career. But there's one thing LaMelo Ball doesn't do that Scoot Henderson does really well. And we see oftentimes in the playoffs, teams that don't get to the rim enough, and this is kind of funny because 2 days ago, Kevin Durant joined a Twitter space, which said he was not top 5 because he lacked this skill, is rim pressure. LaMelo Ball and Scoot Henderson could have been the best backcourt in the league. Now, LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller can be one of the best duos, all things considered. But Miller, to me, might be a worse fit with Ball because they're both guys that don't put a lot of pressure on the rim and are more reliant on jump shooting. And that in the playoffs is always a cause for concern. I also didn't like it because MJ and Mitch Kupchak were making the decision. And if you listen to Mitch Kupchak afterwards, when reporters asked him why he thought Miller was the guy for the Hornets, he rambled on for 4 minutes and didn't even make a single point. And Michael Jordan, meanwhile, after years of picking the wrong prospect in the draft and failing to develop them, Malik Monk traded Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, took what's his name? He's from Jersey, I should know this. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist over Bradley Beal in 2012. The history of the Hornets is quite clearly why their fans are not buying to this decision. And while I think Miller is going to have clearly all-star potential, I think there's a limit to his game given there's not much physicality, and he's also not the best finisher around the cup. He's getting better, but he's also going to be a 21-year-old rookie too. Scoot's a full year younger.
Yeah, so John, you know Adam from our show. He's a Steelers fan, but he is a Hornets fan. So he was like back and forth between are they going to trade the pick or Scoot, Brandon, and ultimately I think after they took the Brandon Miller, he was a little disappointed because like me, I feel like you should have just went with Scoot. I feel like you got to figure that out. Um, but Brandon Miller, he's good, but I also feel like he's getting overhyped. I mean, getting these Paul George comparisons, like when I watch his game, I've tried to watch games and not watch highlights, like keyword highlights. We're only seeing the good things that he's doing. I've seen him get smoked defensively, and he's not strong yet. He's already a little bit older. He's got to build up his body, but I don't think he's great attacking off the dribble. He's not that creative, and he's somewhat of a bad shot taker sometimes, and that's kind of how you can describe LaMelo Ball. So that those two on the same team right now, I don't see. It's gonna take some work, man. I don't think right away you're gonna see these guys just explode. I think LaMelo's obviously gotten better, but I would have went with Scoot, man, and that's just my opinion on it.
And it's not like Miller's going to be a bust. Like, people have been really dramatic about it, myself included, because I had a crazy reaction. But it's just, I thought you took the clear third best player when you had the second overall pick. And that clear third best player might have been the worst fit in spite of you thinking he was the better one. I graded it as a B. I thought it was a B decision. The Blazers, though, who got Scoot at pick 3, also got Chris Murray at pick 23. He's Keegan's twin out of Iowa, had a breakout year. Very well-rounded wing who finishes well and can defend fine. Then with the 43rd pick, they took Ryan Rupert out of France who play in the NBL. Rupert could have been a first-round pick. And the Blazers said they had a lottery grade on him. To get 3 first-rounders with only 1 lottery pick and arguably two top 15, two top 14 prospects, I thought the Blazers were the beneficiary of the Hornets making, the most questionable decision of the night.
All right, yeah. I've made from the outside looking in about Brandon Miller, just looking at it and seeing like he struggled against ranked teams. especially in March Madness. He just really didn't show up, in my opinion. And if you're going up against what I perceive to be better teams and better opponents, and you're not showing up, that's kind of cause for pause for me. So let's move on to the next two picks. The Thompson twins. I believe this is probably the first time ever that two twins have been taken back to back, or twins that have been taken in the first round, or whatever the case may be. I don't know about the history of that. We have a Rockets fan on here, so I'm going to give it to him. Amen Thompson to the Houston Rockets. Did they make a mistake? Should they have taken his twin brother? How are you feeling about this pick?
So, did they make a mistake? Hell no, man. This is the guy I wanted from the beginning, and obviously I would have loved Scoot, but I knew we weren't gonna get him. So I was like, let's take Amon Thompson. We need a playmaker, a guy that can also defend multiple positions. And he's super young, man. If he improves his shooting, which guys come into the league and they're going to work on that, I don't see how he doesn't fit with the group of guys that we have. You can't see it, but I'm wearing a KPJ shirt. I love Kevin Porter Jr., but I'm also okay with just putting him on the bench. I think he can be a great six man for us. I look at Jalen Green. I look at Şengün. I think that tandem right there can work. And if you just add another guy who's going to buy in, Thompson looks as coachable as any player I've ever seen. So I love the pick. I love our team. We are a little deep. We're going to talk about the talent and stuff that we have. But as far as making the right pick, I couldn't be more than happy.
I've fallen in love with the Amon pick because he has the athleticism you can't find. The passing with the athleticism that's even more rare. But he and his brother Asor are like basketball geniuses. And I hate to be the guy that's going to use like trivia answers and just reports as my reasoning for this, but these are two great kids that are very coachable. On top of that, they are so in love with the game of basketball that yesterday I was watching the video of him and be asked a trivia question in the pre-draft process. Which player is taken higher in the draft? He hit every single question out the park, was like 14 to 15. Like, who was the higher pick? Giannis or Devin Booker? Guys in completely different draft classes, different conferences, totally random. And you listen to them talk every time a coach discusses their process working with them. It's all been positive feedback. The only criticism for the Thompson twins is the fact that they can't shoot. But when you think of Amon Thompson comparisons, it's like John Morant's 6'6" though, and he's 20 years old, the same age as Ja when he came out. I thought for the Rockets, pairing him up with Şengün especially, who's one of the league's top young passers, really good in the DHO game, could get him and Jalen Green going downhill. And in transition, this might be the most athletic team in the league too, which makes the Rockets more exciting. And with the tools they all possess, you like a coach like Udoka being in here to actually squeeze the most out of them. So I graded this pick at first a B+, but I'm going A here for the Thompson pick, assuming they don't sign James Harden, because I don't think they will do that now. Personally.
Yeah, there's no way. I think all signs are pointing him going back to Philly. But going back to your point about I don't think there's anything wrong with you using that trivia question as part of your argument. Like personally, when I'm talking with basketball with people, I love doing trivia because it lets me know how serious they are when it comes to just knowing the game. Devin Booker being he was drafted 15th overall, right?
14th or 13th.
14th. Okay. Well, if you ask somebody, just a regular person, they'll be like, "Oh, well, I think Devin Booker is probably like a top 5 pick." And he wasn't. Donovan Mitchell, he wasn't. Giannis, he wasn't. Like, so I think it's really cool that he's a historian of some sort.
Absolutely. And also, Brandon, it's interesting. They're not the only pair of twins to be taken back to back. The Morris twins were 13th and 14th in 2011. But I would have to reckon no twins have been taken back to back this high. I mean, 4th and 5th for two guys that didn't go the traditional collegiate route, or you're older than some one and dones. It is one of a kind. And it's nice to see the league shift so much. 2 years ago, Jalen Green came from the G League. So Kuminga. Those are two top 7 prospects. Last year, Dyson Daniels, the 8th overall pick out of the G League. Now, this year, you see 2 prospects out of France be taking top 7 and 2 guys that are brothers that are on the same overtime elite squad going back to back. So it's nice to see, kind of like internationally, where there's prospects coming from so many different avenues, that the league is opening up past the NCAA. And it's really fascinating to see this development before our very own eyes.
So I want to ask a question to Rudy, because this is a concern, not really a concern, it's just a comment I guess I've had. with the OKC Thunder, right? And we have a question in the notes, so I'm going to bring it up. Because OKC, you can make the case that there's possibly too much young talent where people are going to be peaking at different times. They're not going to match up with the timelines. Whether you're like ready to go now, like Shea is basically, people saying top 3 guard, top 4 point guard in the entire league right now. He's ready to go now. Is the team ready to come with him, right? So with the Rockets, you have some decisions to make. You guys mentioned James Harden. I also don't believe James Harden's coming. I think Stephen A. Smith even basically reported saying, yeah, Ime Udoka and his staff do not want James Harden coming to the Houston Rockets. They're trying to build something different, and James Harden doesn't fit that culture. Love that and respect that. Do the Rockets have too much young talent, and who do they need to go get in free agency to help maybe mold, be that veteran presence to be there?
Yeah, so too much young talent. I don't know. It's hard to tell because there's guys on our roster like Ty Washington where I like him, but I'm okay if he just doesn't end up panning out. Um, the one concern I do have is like Tari KJ Martin. What's gonna happen there? Because I like both of those guys. Like I love KJ Martin, but I think he's a restricted free agent. I don't remember, but if we want to move him, I'm fine with it because I can see Cam Whitmore developing into taking that spot. But I think Tari did a damn good job last season, and he could be a starter. I mean, he kind of similar to KJ Martin, where he was kind of thrust into that role. We're pretty good at throwing guys out on the floor and just letting them play, and we have a much better coach now. I think you were talking about OKC. The difference is I think they have too much young talent, but I think they're more clear on who their guys are. I just wonder about Trey Mann over there and now Casey Wallace, but I mean that's a whole different topic. As far as us, I think we're fine. I think we do need to fill out our roster with maybe 1 or 2 guys free agency wise. I really like Cam Johnson. I think he's an older guy, a veteran that has been on a deep playoff run, a finals run. He could be a starter for us. Like I wouldn't mind him starting alongside Green, Thompson, Smith, and Şengün because
Yeah.
he can play multiple positions as well. There's been talks about Brook Lopez. I don't know if that's gonna happen. I don't I'm not particularly too bought into Brook Lopez. I'd rather get Naz Reid. I would like that a lot more. But I don't know. I don't think we have too much young talent. I don't think so.
I don't know if we've seen this though before. A team accumulate so much young talent that 4 of their 5 projected starters are top 5 prospects in their individual classes, because that's what Cam Whitmore is. He fell in the draft due to poor Jonathan Cavoni concerns over his knee cartilage, a disappointing rookie or freshman season at Villanova, poor pre-draft workouts. If only he worked out and interviewed as well as Brandon Miller, would have been the 2nd overall pick. And really, the idea is just that I don't know if their play styles and their skill sets actually correspond with one another. It feels like there's no pecking order between Amon, Jalen, Cam, and Jalen and Amon we could say are 1 and 2. But I think for Cam Whitmore, he was supposed to be a guy that would be a priority for his team. And last year, it felt like with Jabari Smith, he took more of a back burner. And now you add in 2 lottery talents to the squad. And you worry about the personalities because so much of the draft is not only accumulating the right type of team fits, but then also these players work well with one another. And for as good of a coach as Ime Udoka is, with how bad their culture was the last 3 years after trading James Harden, I'm really concerned they're going to have just too many good players on the roster that all need playing time. A lot of them aren't going to be prioritized. They're going to get no PT. And then it kind of feels irresponsible as a franchise in some ways because, like, to me, I was hoping the Rockets didn't take Cam Whitmore, to be blunt with you, because A value, questionable fit. I'm like, I want him to go to a team like the Pacers where he can start immediately. He'll get the perfect secondary role of Tyrese Halliburton, and he'll be that franchise's like second lead creator. With the Rockets, I want him to get 3 and D wing, kind of like Cam Johnson, just an elite shooter, which Whitmore is not right now. Thompson can't really play off the ball because he's one of the worst shooters in this draft class. And then with Jalen Green, he needs to play on the ball because that's where it gets into a rhythm. And when Jalen's out of rhythm, 2nd overall pick going to year 3, I am pretty concerned about this because it's like yeah, you don't get your lottery pick next year. So it's kind of like you made up for the pick you're going to lose. But at what point is there such thing as too much young talent? I think the Rockets are in the case here where it's like not every draft pick hits. Many, more often than not, miss. You look at the 76ers, the Thunder, they hit 3 MVPs. That's never going to happen for a long time. But it seems like to me, the GM and Raphael Stone is kind of just trying to protect his job, and he's just drafting as many quality young prospects. Am I alone in that thinking? Like Stone has to be on the hot seat here, given they've struggled so much last few years.
No, I feel like normally I would say I would agree with you, but I feel like when Silas came in, that timeline got screwed up so bad because immediately Harden and Russ were out, and he kind of had to do whatever he could to get value for those guys, and it turned into a bunch of picks, and we're drafting high every year. So
Right.
taking the we always get on teams for not taking the best available player, and I feel like that's what he has done. And even with guys like Şengün and even Josh Christopher, like these are guys that he scouted and found. These are the guys that he liked, and I feel like he made some really good picks there. But last year's draft, I mean, we all thought we were getting Paolo, and then that changed. So at that point, again, you took the best available player in Jabari Smith. I don't think that Cam needs to start right away. I'm okay with it, but I'm also okay with letting guys leave or trade him like KJ Martin. Like he's a talented guy, he can go play anywhere. But I can agree with you in a sense. It is a lot of talent. They need to figure it out. Play style is my concern. How are we going to play? Because I do think Jalen Green can become. Don't give me a crazy reaction here, but I can see Jamal Murray-ish kind of play with Şengün in terms of how him and Jokic play. I could see some of that working for us, but with Thompson being in there, like you said, he can't shoot yet, but he can cut and he can get to the basket, and he's an elite athlete. So as long as they figure out a way to make these guys work, and if they're all bought in, I think it'll just be forward progress. I don't think we're going to take steps back because it's been bad, and we need to start winning more games.
I'm hesitant on being negative because this is the first time I've been skeptical of a team nailing the draft. The first time. It feels like we always credit teams when they take players that fit in some ways, because you made a good point. Amen and Cam, good cutters and off-ball movers. Şengün is entering the top 3 of passing bigs by year 3. So the theory of him being able to find those guys like a Kenyon Martin, down low, on cuts, backdoor slips, and second side actions, it's really exciting, but I'm probably alone in this one. I have to see this actually gel out because it feels like Ime Udoka's got too many kids to worry about, man. But we're going to see in time. It's going to be exciting because, like you pointed out, the Rockets hasn't been a lot good last couple of years with Steven Silas. It can only go up from here, and I'm with you there. I'm expecting to win 30 games this year with the new coach and the added talent and development. But at some point, we're going to year 4 of this rebuild. It's like, when is it time to start winning games and not developing? Maybe it's just them wanting to extend that runway the way the Thunder have the last couple of years, which is understandable and probably the right thing to do. It's just it's a matter of balancing culture building and then the product with the long-term development. And I feel like they're overcompensating on potential, and they're not prioritizing the winning aspect of developing a culture, developing a team construct. Because let's be honest, I mean, I listened to yesterday the Pick Aside podcast, and Drew, he didn't watch like anyone Rocket games. He's like, what was their identity last year? Being a giant mess? It's like they have such a long way to go in terms of the identity of this roster. And there's many different ways they can build it. And that's what makes them a potential contender down the line. But man, I think Ime Udoka, he has the most amount of talent to develop, but also one of the harder jobs in the league, given, it's a lot. It's a lot here.
Yeah, I do. I just want to say this real quick. I think our timeline kind of restarted once we traded Christian Wood, because when Christian Wood got brought in, it was to pair with Harden, and then Harden left, and there was a lot of Rockets fans, even me. I was getting overwhelmed with the Christian Wood hype. I don't know why. We just saw a big 6'10" guy. He said he told Giannis he's better than Giannis. Yeah, we won some games with him. And so
5-game winning streak right after trading Harden. So it felt like Wood was actually going to be a long-term piece.
Yeah, and once that shit ended, I feel like it was a clean restart. And even now with the new coach, I feel like you get another year in there. So I feel like everyone kind of gets on us for these guys have been trash for 4 years. Like I think we're just starting to restart
Mhm.
our rebuild process.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to hit on, right? So you got Jalen Green, right? 2 years ago, he was the number 2 overall pick. You got Jabari Smith Jr. Last year, he was the 3rd overall pick. And now this year, you got Amen Thompson, he was the 3rd
Third
overall
over,
pick. Yeah,
fourth,
third.
fourth.
Okay.
Fourth
Fourth.
overall.
Yeah, okay. Okay. 4th overall pick. This is what I want to ask you. Is the guy, because I know it's been some years since the Harden days, right? You're coming off a 22-60 record. Is the guy to hand the keys to the kingdom to on the team currently?
Man, that's a tough question to answer because it could be Jokic and it's be funny because he wasn't a lottery pick. Uh I'm
Şengün.
I would have to go with Şengün.
Wow.
What did I say? Did I say Şengün, right? I said
You said
Şengün.
Jokic before,
Oh,
but I know
sorry,
you meant
my
you
bad.
meant baby
Yeah, I
Jokic.
meant Şengün because he wasn't a lottery pick. I think he's getting the Jokic comparison. That's why I'm thinking of Jokic. I say that because I've also been okay with the um, possibility of trading Jalen Green. Like I'm okay with that.
He's
I
not
like Jokic.
untouchable.
Yeah, he's not an untouchable player.
Okay. So is Şengün the only guy that would be untouchable for you?
I I don't even think he's untouchable. Like I'm giving you the closest
Yeah.
answer to your question that I
Yeah.
possibly can. You know.
Yeah. So you're still in the zone of we are years away from
No.
being back in a contention. Like years I'm
Contention,
talking.
yeah. Contention, yeah.
It's
We're
Years.
the quickest the Rockets return to the playoffs is 2025. The quickest they return to contention is probably 4 years from now in 2027. When Amon's going to year 4, Jalen's going to year 6. Because I listened to Jalen Green talk. He's like, yeah, my rookie duties, I was the veteran there. I'm like, oh God.
and he wasn't.
This is a
Eric
bad
Gordon.
precedent for a 19-year-old.
Yeah, and Eric Gordon was on the team, so that's weird.
And that, well, yeah, obviously he was checked out, waiting to be traded, which he never was for 2.5 more years. But the thing is, where was I going with that thought? Oh, this is what it was. Alperen Şengün is so appealing because Nikola Jokic has won a championship. And the same way we look at the next Steph, the next LeBron, the next Michael, it feels like everyone's allured by the attraction of the next Jokic. But he has developed as a shooter because right now he's just a non-shooter. He's got the passing and he's also got the feel for the game too. He's also a worse defender though than Nikola Jokic. And Jokic is a little bit bigger. There have been a lot of, have you seen on Twitter the Alperen Şengün reports that he's like 7 feet tall when he's really 6'9"? And I'm like, guys, he's undersized in the center position. He gives up a lot of rim protection. He's really a total non-rim protector. And he's not that adept switching either. So the concern with him is if they talk themselves into him being the guy long term, what's the piece alongside him that supports him defensively? Is Jabari Smith going to be a good enough rim protection to make up for the lack of it? Because we saw with Aaron Gordon, it was enough. But then again, Nikola had to take his game to a different level. He defended at a relatively quality level in the playoffs. Will we get that from Şengün? That's what's going to determine whether or not they really can get back to that top upper echelon, I think, because every team needs rim protection to some degree.
Well, the Rockets, for the last, this is off the top of my head because I'm pretty sure the 90s, they were competitive, right? With Hakeem. The 2000s, they had a little spot there with Yao, but they weren't like real, but they were like, watchable. Then you had the 2010s with Dwight and Harden coming in, then Dwight leaving and basically being the Harden show. So maybe there's something that last, 3 decades, you've had something. So there's maybe something on the horizon where Houston, the front office is like, F this, waiting around. We're going to dive in on a player and something like that. Maybe, something happens.
You make a good point because they've had really good coaches in those years too. Tom Jonovich, I guess Van Gundy too, and D'Antoni. So you're getting Udoka now, and it feels like that next wave of coaching.
I just want to say in 2009, if we're healthy, we win the championship. I just want to say that.
See? So they're right. Listen, the culture is there because you got Ime. All right. That guy is, shown to be able to turn things around I'm a big believer in Ime Udoka. So you're obviously hitting an A+ with the coaching. Now it's about development and bringing in the right talent necessary. Hell, there's going to be people who are young talent. I can think LaMelo Ball right now. I'm not saying he's coming, but young talent that is going to get frustrated with where they are and where their team is doing. Like a James Harden, he wasn't frustrated, but they weren't willing to give him the money. You get where I'm going with this. That could happen again too. And Houston dives in and says, because they are a franchise that has been known, screw it, we're going to go for it.
Yes.
So something could be on the horizon where they get tired of this waiting around. They're like, let's just go. Like the Los Angeles Rams, F them picks.
In order to get there, they're going to need themselves a Shane Battier, a Meta World Peace. I forget about that 09 team. I didn't even realize they were how many games away from the finals? Was it they went to a game 6 in the conference? They went to the semis versus the Lakers, right?
So I don't remember at what point 2008 T-Mac had like a resurgence MVP-esque type year, and then in 2009 he was hurt. So we played the Blazers in the first round. That was Brandon Roy and Marcus Aldridge, that team. We beat them, and then going into the second round, Yao Ming breaks his foot against the Lakers. Yet no T-Mac, no Yao. We pushed them to 7 games. So I've convinced myself that if T-Mac and Yao are playing in that series, come on, man. We win that one.
Yeah. It's kind of like the Clippers of this year where you saw what they were doing with no Paul George or Kawhi or just Kawhi. I'm fully convinced if Kawhi and Paul George are there, they're beating the Suns in probably 5. If it's just Kawhi, it's probably going 7 and the Clippers win.
Yeah, and they had Westbrook. Our best player was Ron Artest and Aaron Brooks.
That's the thing. Aaron Brooks had his own Reggie Jackson moment in that series with Luis Scola,
Scola,
and Carl Landry. They had some good players in that team, and even Kyle Lowry's coming off the bench. That was a great, underrated squad.
Kyle.
Definitely respect Luis Scola. I love him.
All right, so before we move on maybe to the Draymond topic, is there any more things you guys want to talk about the draft before we move on?
Oh, yeah. Well, I was going to say.
Well, go ahead. Well, did you mention Keontae George?
I did. I like that pick a lot for Will Hardy.
Well, you had a question that you sent to me. What was it? It was, let's see. Was it franchise shifter? This guy has a chance to be that, in my opinion. I don't think they are fully bought in. Like they're shopping Colin Sexton. This guy could be Anthony Simons. I don't think he's could be a generational player, but I think he can, shift their franchise. I think with him, Markkanen, Walker Kessler, I think he has a lot of potential. I just want to point that out.
It's kind of like Jalen Hardy last year. He fell, but right environment, right coaching, right opportunity. Skilled 3-level scorer, one-and-done prospect that lost a little bit of weight. He was playing, I think, a little bit heavier this season at 225 pounds, 6'4", which is heavy, at least for a guard. I agree with you. I thought it was a good pick. One more. I liked Brandon. The Heat took Jaime Jaquez out of UCLA, pick 18. You watch his game, he played a lot like Jimmy Butler in college. And the NBA is not going to have that same opportunity because he's going to be playing more as a spot-up shooter. But I thought that was a solid pick. My favorite other picks, Kobe Buffkin to the Hawks, Jordan Hawkins to the Pelicans, Derek Lively to the Mavericks long-term, and I like Bilal Coulibaly going to the Wizards. I thought that's the right franchise to take him. They're going to be patient with him.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people are high on the Derek Lively pick, that he can be a real player very soon. In terms of the Jaime pick for the Heat, yeah, I've heard all I've really heard is that this guy is the typical Miami Heat player. They're going typical Miami Heat. It is there's no coincidence that I'm a Patriots fan and a Miami Heat fan, that these teams do very similar things where they pick a guy that you don't expect them to pick, but it's their kind of guy. But I'm not, enthralled or whatever. We've got, moves to come. Time is up, everybody. Yeah.
That's the thing. Let's say this real quick. By the Blazers selecting Scoot Henderson, the chances of Damian Lillard being traded get doubled. Joe Cronin, the GM, hasn't talked.
If he's not a liar, John. Okay. I want to say that right now. Damian Lillard, if you do not come to the Miami Heat, you're a liar. It makes the American people, and you're a liar.
It makes remotely no sense for Dame to stay at this point because they've got 2 young stars in the backcourt, and Anthony Simons, who's already established bucket getter, that averages 27 in Dame's departure. That's 3 young guards who can all change this rebuild and allow them to get some front court players to add in. The Blazers have a golden opportunity here. Send them to somewhere. Just get a couple of assets and prioritize the right type of players. Maybe they want to keep Dame to mentor these guards, but not for long.
That's
Not for
selfish,
long.
man. That's selfish. That's selfish. He's not gonna be a mentor. He's gonna be playing 40 minutes a night, and there's no reason for that anymore. They have the Heat. Sorry, they have the Heat. I mean, the Blazers have the perfect opportunity to trade Dame to the Heat. We all want to see him there. Then trade Anthony and just build around Scoot and Shaedon Sharp. Like, there's so much you can get back for that. So it's just annoying that we keep talking about Dame. We're talking about him all the time, and just like my friend Jason said yesterday, I don't want to talk about it no more until he moves. I don't care about rumors or anything like that. It's because it's just so frustrating.
He does a lot of interviews, though. A lot of interviews.
Yeah,
Maybe a little too many.
I feel you on that so much. It's tired of the talk. I just let's get the damn deal done.
Right.
He's made it very clear what he wants. So if that's the case, and it really is, you hear it. People are just saying Dame doesn't want to come out and tell the Blazers to trade him. He wants the Blazers to make up their mind to trade him so he doesn't get bashed by it. He can be like, oh, it wasn't me. Don't look at me. Screw that, Dame. You owe Portland nothing. You gave them everything you could. It's time to be a little selfish. It's time to say, Portland, you go to the front office, whoever you got to talk to. I don't know the guy's name. I don't really care. You go up there and you say, listen, with all due respect, you guys have done great for my career. Okay. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be who I am today. But I have gave you everything. I have tried everything. I think our marriage has come to an end. And I think that I need to go take my talents to, South Beach, basically, is what I'm saying. Everybody knows that. Let's go. Let's make the deal.
Specifically South Beach, not Brooklyn, right?
No, because that would be redundant. You said you want to leave to go win a damn championship. If you go to Brooklyn, you're not winning a championship. Let's just come on now. Mikal Bridges is a good player. He ain't Jimmy Butler. Nick Claxton, a good player. He ain't Bam Adebayo. I'm actually blanking on the coach's name, but he ain't Eric Spoelstra. You don't got the Heat culture.
Jacques Vaughn.
Yeah, Jacques Vaughn.
Apologies, because he did actually do a very good job, but he's no Eric Spoelstra.
He did. He should play Cam Thomas a little bit more, though. That's the only issue.
Big Michael Jordan, the next guy.
Yeah, if Dame goes to Miami, man, to me they're the favorites out of the East easily.
The favorites, yes. I 100% believe that too. Not just calling us a Miami Heat fan, just saying listen, the Celtics made a great move. I like the move to getting KP, but that series, it really is gonna. I don't want to disrespect the Bucks like that, but it just feels like the Bucks have kind of taken a step back, especially if the Heat get Damian Lillard. But the Bucks are a live threat. But specifically the Celtics and Miami, especially because it's been the last 4 years, 3 out of the last 4 years, Eastern Conference Finals battle has been Heat. Or no, wait. No, the Celtics weren't. Were the Celtics in the bubble Eastern Conference Finals, or was that?
They were.
Yeah,
they were. Okay, so it has been the last 3 out of 4, Miami versus Boston. So that's what it just feels like to me, is that's the collision course we're going head to head.
Yeah, the Bucks got a good pick. Andre Jackson at 36, NCAA champion out of UConn. Good defender, quality athlete, solid passer. Could get some rotation minutes, but they have to reclaim the throne. They were embarrassing. Giannis missed 13 free throws, fouling 3-point shooters. That was a disaster. And now the Miami Heat are the top team in the conference. They haven't won a championship, I know, but I mean, maybe I'm wrong on that, but they've been to the finals now multiple times, and they've been to the conference finals 3 times. To the Bucks, who have only gotten there 1 time in the last 4 years. So
the Bucks will be back though, man. I feel like when Giannis is healthy, and I mean, Brandon, I'm sure you watched Middleton look pretty damn good in that series versus the Heat.
But that's what I'm saying.
Lopez did too.
It's going to be interesting because we don't know what they're going to be next year, right? Is Middleton leaving? Romain was on the show and he said that he thinks Middleton is leaving, is declining that option to take less money. Where I come from, I say, I don't really recall ever seeing that in the NBA or in sports, really. A guy declining getting $40 million and being like, yeah, I'm going to take the pay cut for you, especially Middleton, his position, getting older, coming off injuries. You kind of want to take the money, the most amount of money you can get. So I don't get that portion of it. So yeah, I don't know that. Brook Lopez, there's heavy rumors that the Rockets are going to go all in on Brook Lopez. So I don't know what they're going to be next year. I've said for the last year, actually, honestly, since they won the championship, I do think that they need to make some moves here because I don't think that's sustainable with Middleton as your 2 and Holiday as your 3, and especially if Middleton goes down and Holiday's got to be your 2, that definitely ain't gonna work. So that's where I was like, you got to make a move to really give Giannis that true Robin guy who's like upper echelon type guy. No disrespect to Middleton, but at his best, was he really even top 20? I really don't think
Top
so.
like the 30th best player in the league.
Yeah,
He's just a
so-
perfect fit off Giannis.
Yeah.
What about a sign and trade Chris Middleton for Anthony Simons?
How old Anthony? Is he 24, 25?
Oh, he's way younger, but
He's 23.
Yeah, well, he's I don't know. I don't think that for me, if I'm the Bucks, that doesn't really get me going. I need a real number 2 guy. You're not going to get him, but like a Devin Booker type, like a top 15
Wayne.
type, top 15 guy, top 20 guy to give Giannis that real number 2. I don't know if you're going to get that.
I think Simons would be perfect, but defensively, I don't know if he would be. He would definitely not be perfect, and I would personally rather have Chris Middleton because he is still an okay defender, and while he's going to age maybe poorly, he's got a chronic knee issue. We see in the playoffs every year, it's the wings and not the undersized guards. They're okay playmakers and poor defenders that go all the way. The Heat, they lose Tyler Hero and go to the finals. So.
Yeah, I say Simons because they need, we're saying, Giannis needs another secondary, true, somewhat almost elite creator. And that's what Anthony is. So if they did that and then maybe sign Dylan Brooks, hey.
I think Dylan Brooks is going to the Rockets, actually. That's my expectation.
No, God, I don't want him, man.
That is not the culture piece.
He helped develop. Think about how much he did in Memphis. They went.
No.
They've won 50 games each of the last 2 years. Where the second seed back-to-back seasons because of him being that good of a leader.
Not because of him. Stop it, John. Stop pushing this guy. All right.
He's been a key. He's been a key for that.
It was Dylan Brooks.
Dylan Brooks.
Gets underrated.
No, I'm sorry. I don't want him.
If he regains his confidence back, you still don't think he would be a big difference maker?
I don't think he's worth that money that people are talking about.
17.
That's too much, man. I don't even want to give him 10. I don't want to pay him at all. So I'm gonna be really upset if we sign Dylan Brooks. I'm gonna be mad.
Yeah,
you need him.
Yeah. John tried to push that onto me and say he's perfect. Dylan Brooks perfect for Miami. I'm like, no, the hell he's not. No. He ain't built for that culture. He can't take that.
We need
Stop. John. Stop. Just enough. Okay.
This guy's averaged 25 points per game in the playoff series while shooting 40% from deep.
Yeah. What have you?
That was where he was at his best.
If he's doing that for us, we are winning 5 games.
No, he against the Jazz dropped 25 and was efficient.
And what has he done for you lately, though?
Well, last year he missed 50 games due to injury. This year he had the worst year of his career.
There you go.
But he made an all-defensive team in the worst year of his career. So.
But I'm talking updated resume. What was his most recent thing you saw him doing?
Shooting 0% versus the Lakers in the second round.
Yeah, exactly.
Or in the first round, excuse me.
Yeah. Offensively, he got worse while his other teammates, Jackson and John Morant and Bane, were all getting better. So I don't like that.
No,
sure.
Not at all. All right. Any more of the draft stuff you guys want to talk about, or are we?
I think we covered everything. What was your favorite steal outside the Rockets, Rudy? Did you have one?
Well, Jason had one yesterday. It was Pee Wee had him too. He was his favorite guy that went to the Lakers.
Oh, Jalen Hood-Schifino.
Well, I know I like Jalen Hood-Schifino a lot. I think he's Spencer Dinwiddie type player. But the other guy they drafted after that, his name is
Maxwell Lewis.
Yeah, Maxwell Lewis. So shout out to the Lakers because I think they got 2 really good, steals, you could say.
Lewis is another one. Love the value, but I'm a little bit worried him and Max Christie are going to be splitting the minutes there, and only one of them's going to have to pay today. That's my concern.
Do you expect those young guys to actually suit up for the Lakers, or are they, pieces to be moved? Because it is, LeBron and AD are win now.
We saw the Warriors. Just traded Baldwin and Rollins in the pool deal, so it's possible.
I think Hood-Schifino for sure. I think they need to kick D'Angelo Russell to the curb. Don't re-sign him.
Yeah.
Just bring back Schroeder and Hood-Schifino, and then you got Austin Reeves. They'll be fine, man.
Yep. Yeah.
Shout out to King J in the chat. How do you feel about the Spurs trading Leonard Miller, who was the 33rd overall pick, to the Timberwolves? Miller was easily a first-round prospect. He played with Scoot in the G League. I was pretty surprised by it because they could have gotten 2 G League players. 10 picks later, they selected Sidish Sissoko, also out of the G League. But ultimately, the Timberwolves got a very good pick because Leonard Miller, very promising players, very raw, very productive though. Good ball handler, good feel for the game. Can't really shoot and has wonky mechanics. If Jared Vanderbilt could finish though, that's who he reminds me of quite a bit. Not as polished a defender, but he can get there with his tools. So pick 33 for the Wolves. He's going to be a great value add. I gave that pick an A. For the Spurs, very questionable. I don't know exactly what they got, but that was a really good fit, man. He would have fortified that backup line after Wemby on the second unit.
Yeah. So let's get on to this topic. I'm gonna make my thoughts pretty clear right out the gate. Could Draymond Green be pried away by the Sacramento Kings? Flat out, my answer is hell no. If he were to leave, it's not going to be the Kings. It would be somewhere, I don't know, a Dallas type if they retained Kyrie and have Luka there. That's something that I would think could happen. But I truly do believe he's going back to the Golden State Warriors and he's going to re-sign for more money than he was going to get than the 27 he was owed in the player option if you accepted that. So no, I don't believe he's going to the Sacramento Kings. I think he's staying in Golden State.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen either. But could it work? Could he help them? I think so. I think me and John had a conversation like a month ago. Like the Kings need a connector, and he could be that on any team. So I agree with Brandon. It's not gonna happen, but I mean, it could work.
It's a fascinating question because Draymond Green, if you didn't know, is not a shooter. Domantas Sabonis is also a guy who didn't shoot much, especially in their playoff series versus Draymond. But I do think Draymond could work in Sacramento. Why? Because he's made it work for years, starting games with Kevon Looney, winning a championship with him. Naturally, Sabonis is not a very good defender. Draymond, naturally, not a very good offensive player. Him being in Golden State has really elevated his passing. I think you put him in a Sacramento offense with Kevin Huerter, Keegan Murray, Malik Monk, and maybe a guy who they take in the draft. Oh, Colby Jones out of Xavier, one of the biggest deals. I didn't even mention him before. Colby Jones, a lot like Dante DiVincenzo. Got him in the second round. Another do-it-all guard. The Kings have so many shooters that he can continue to run THO and different floppy actions and sets to get these shooters open again and again and again. But in order for the Kings to contend, the defense has to be better. And Mike Brown knows that. They've got so many Warriors connections in that building. You need rim protection that they don't really have. But I think getting a leader like Draymond will be perfect. Now, can they sign him? Yes. If they don't bring back Harrison Barnes, they'll have over $30 million in cap space. You plug Draymond into that lineup at the 4 with Sabonis, would it be weird? Would it work at first? Yes, it'd be weird. Probably wouldn't work initially. But in the playoffs, which is where the Kings' focus is now lasered in on, that would be perfect. And as the report came out, some random executive said, I think the Warriors are sweating about the possibility of him going up the highway or up a freeway. Because if they lose Draymond, now that defense, which was one of the best in the league with him, becomes one of the worst. That's how important a defensive player he is. Plug Draymond into Sacramento, though, Mike Brown. Those are the two pieces that helped drive the Warriors' elite-level defense years ago. So I love this idea.
I agree with you on that. And I'll say this. If Draymond's not on the Warriors, that team is a play-in team. They're going to be throwing Chris Paul out there trying to play defense at 40 years old. I mean, obviously they will be throwing in Kuminga and Wiggins and some of those other guys, but they're going to be missing so much. If Draymond did go to the Kings, I mean, who's playing the 3 over there?
Keegan's
going to get cooked.
It's gonna be tough.
A little bit.
I would just say I don't think the Warriors would make a move like trading Jordan Poole if they didn't know Draymond was coming back. Because I specifically said that move was going to happen because of what happened, and there's no coming back from that. A breakup was inevitable, and the only way to fix that problem, which was an internal problem, was to get rid of one of the other. You don't want to get rid of Draymond because how important he is. So Jordan Poole is the guy that's left to trade away. And I don't think they make that move and think, oh yeah, we have, it's a 50-50 shot we're getting Draymond. I think it's 100% shot. The conversations have been had. Draymond's coming back and he's going to resign for a little bit more money.
But at the same time, trading Jordan Poole could be in part of fear. Your tax bill is so high, you're uncertain you have the cap space to get Draymond. It helps you get it. But if Green wants to prove himself in a different setting on a team that could offer him a little bit more money, it makes almost too much sense to test his limits going into his mid-30s here. I know it's weird thinking Draymond could retire anywhere else other than Golden State, but the Kings need precisely what he brings. It's another challenge, and this is a guy who his entire career has been doubted. People have never understood him. Think about what it would do for Draymond Green's legacy if he went to Sacramento, brought them to the conference finals after the year before they were being beat by the Warriors in 7 games. To me, it would add another layer to his legacy, and he would also be making more money because the Kings have over $30 million now in cap space this offseason.
Be like the opposite of what KD did.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I got a
the
question.
opposite of Kevin Durant, bro.
Draymond.
I got a question for y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the better second round pick of just up there all time? Is it Ginobili or is it Draymond Green?
Ginobili for me. I have Ginobili as a top 10 shooting guard of all time. So
me too.
Okay.
I would say Ginobili.
Say Ginobili easily.
Not
No.
easily. Draymond is a great player, and he's obviously still got some years left to prove, his even more worth. But yeah, I just so many people will say that like Ginobili was like the guy. I think Pop even said it, like without Ginobili, this team is not going to be a dynasty. Like Ginobili was like,
but
like without Duncan, like Duncan, obviously, it's kind of like what I say about Jokic and Murray. Like Jokic is the guy. You look at Jokic, right? You look at Tim Duncan, but without Ginobili, that thing doesn't run. Without Jamal Murray, that thing doesn't run as smoothly as it did.
But you could say the same thing
you
for
could.
the Warriors.
Draymond is the exact.
I mean,
you want to know why I picked Manu? Manu won a gold medal with Argentina, and that team had, Carlos Delfino, Luis Scola. It was a really good team, but that accomplishment is greater than any Warriors championship. Just is. And that was his second year in the NBA. Manu could have played in his early 20s. He didn't come to the league up until he was 25 years old, and he came off the bench for so many of those years. Part of his play style forced him to be a little bit more cautious with the minute totals, and load management limited him to just 20, 22, 24, 27 minutes per game. But I think when you look at his all-around impact on the offensive end, defensively for years, averaging 3 steals in the playoffs, the longevity of Ginobili especially, the guy is a 4-time champ, just like Draymond, 2-time All-NBA. Does Draymond have any All-NBA appearances? He might have one.
He's got DPOYs.
He's got 1 DPOY.
Oh,
I
one
think he
DPOY.
deserves more. 2 All-NBAs for Draymond. He doesn't have the 6-man year selections, but he does have the all-defensive case. 8-time all-defensive. Yeah.
I would just say that if we're going to compare player to player, I think Manu is the overall better player. Like obviously, yes, Draymond's defense is better and he's a great passer, but Manu, his shooting and scoring prowess, handle, and he wasn't a slouch passing the ball either. He was a great playmaker as well. Both were great leaders in their own rights. So I just think Manu just edges him in most of the categories when you look at, except for defense. And he wasn't too shabby on defense either. I know this might be a sore subject, but Rudy knows the shot blocked behind from James Harden. So.
Come on, man.
Come on. Old man Manu.
That was that meme that went crazy after with like Harden with the shot getting blocked.
Yep. That was a tough one.
It was sick.
But all right. So we cleared the NBA topics. Now let's move on to this topic. Another team that is close to Rudy's heart, the Dallas Cowboys, and a team that he probably despises with every fiber of his being, the Philadelphia Eagles.
I like the Eagles, man. I'm
You
a
like
weird
the Eagles?
I like the Eagles, bro. Like
To start,
I feel like we're in a new age of just we can appreciate teams. Like I am a diehard Cowboys fan, Rockets fan, but I like these guys, players, teams. You know, and there's nothing wrong with it. Don't let people tell you that there's something wrong with you.
the Eagles are hard to root
despise.
against, and the same goes to the Bengals as a Steeler fan. I don't like them though. This is the topic at hand. Every week we preview a different division. This week we are starting the NFC East. Cowboys, Eagles. Who is the better team in the East? Dallas this offseason got busy drafting Mozzie Smith. They go and take Luke Shoemaker out of Michigan as well. They went all in though on the defense, getting Stephon Gilmore, acquiring earlier on Brandon Cooks. Every single Cowboys hole has been plugged in. The question though is that enough to overcome a Philadelphia team that does lose Shane Steichen? What do you think, Rudy?
That's a very good question, and we're not gonna have the answer until we see these two teams match up. Not even in a regular season. I want to see a playoff matchup. That's what I want to see. Because we did our power rankings going into next season, and I had Eagles at 1 over the Chiefs. I just think that they have a great team. They arguably won the draft. So I think Jalen Hurts has gotten better and better each year. I can't say the same for Dak, man. He disappoints me too much, and he's the spearhead for our team. And this year, we're coming in with Brandon Cooks, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup's healthy. We got Tony Pollard as the guy now. We have a well-rounded team as well. We got arguably one of the top 5 secondaries in the league. Like, there's not many excuses for him to have. So I think the Eagles are better on paper. They deserve to be given the edge right now. But to me, yes, the Cowboys, the only way they're going to prove anything to me this year is if you can come out of the conference and get to the Super Bowl. There's really no excuse, honestly.
Yeah. So the problem with the Cowboys, right? First off, starts with I was not a big fan of the move to get rid of Kellen Moore, right? I read the stat off when he got relieved of his duties, whatever you want to call it. Since Kellen Moore and Dak came together, they were number 2 in total offensive yards and 2 to only the Kansas City Chiefs. That's pretty damn good company. I was not a fan of that move. I'm not a big fan of Mike McCarthy. I think he honestly rode Aaron Rodgers' coattails to get that Super Bowl win. His offense towards the end of his run in Green Bay became stoic. A lot of players and people were just talking about how like this is just so rudimentary. It's stale. It's nothing new to it. So I don't know what. Maybe that was 6-7 years ago, whatever. Maybe he had a philosophy change. I have no idea. Dak is obviously saying all the right things in the media about it. But what I do love is the moves that they made and how John spoke on. Yes, they drafted pretty well, but what I want to focus on is getting Stephon Gilmore, a guy who is not washed. This guy, while athletically he is not what he once was, bro, this guy technically is probably the best cornerback in the league. If we want to talk straight technique, he's right there. So now you have, in my opinion, the best cornerback duo in the entire NFL, in my opinion. I love Trevon Diggs. I think from how many years he's only been playing cornerback to what he is, still sky's the limit. He can even get better. You still got Micah, the spearhead of that defense, all right? And you've made a move in getting Brandon Cooks now. And Brandon Cooks is going to help apply that pressure on the defense. Speed. You guys were lacking a lot of speed last year in offense. Now you got to have a guy who can stretch the defense, a guy who's had 1,000 yards with many a different quarterbacks. Last one was David Mills in the Houston Texans offense. This guy was having 1,000 yards. You got CeeDee Lamb, who really proved himself, who I think is right there. If you don't want to say he's top 10, he is right. He's in that conversation of a top 10 wide receiver. He's proved himself as a number 1. You get rid of Dalton Schultz. That kind of sucks. He was a real safety blanket, but I'm blanking on the tight end that they drafted. I think in the second or third round. Yep. They got high hopes for him. The offensive line is still going to be top notch in the league. Tony Pollard, there's worries coming off the injury. That sucked in the San Francisco game. They really missed Tony Pollard in that game. They needed that explosiveness. You got no more Zeke now. Rumors he might come back just as like a kind of Udonis Haslam. You want to speak on the Miami Heat, that type of guy, just to really be a veteran presence. But I believe in these Dallas Cowboys to get it done. I know on paper, like Rudy said, it's hard to go against those Eagles on paper. They and not even just on paper. Last year they proved that the paper was, real. It's just now you're not coming out a surprise to everybody. We all know about this, right? That one year you get everybody. They're not really too worried about you. Now people know, okay, we're not going to sleep on you now. We're going to, you're the defending NFC champions. You got a target on your back as well. I just think the best case scenario for the Cowboys is you just got to split with the Eagles. You don't got to sweep them, just split. They're better than the Giants. There's no comp there. You're better than the Commanders. There's no comp there. It's Philly and it's Dallas. You split with Philly. I think winning that division right there is right in the palm of your hands. Now, like I said, Mike McCarthy is the one step back. I can't argue with Mike McCarthy. I'm not a fan of him.
Well, they were right in position to win the division this last year, but really, unfortunately for the Eagles, the one talking point is they got banged up to end last year on the defensive end, the front seven, Jalen Hurts. And it's hard to repeat a Super Bowl run. Like we saw it with the Eagles in 2017 and 2018, where you had more injuries, with Wentz notably out for another postseason, or at least he got hurt again. That's the only concern I have with this Eagles team. Losing Jonathan Gannon could be addition by subtraction because that defense did not play well against elite level quarterbacks. Even Jared Goff, like the 14th best quarterback in the league, still gave them numbers. The thing with the Eagles is they just had the best quarterback in the conference. And we saw that this last year. The jump Jalen Hurts took is speaking of a superstar. It is the beginning of what will be the Eagles' possible best quarterback in their franchise's history. I look at Dak Prescott and I don't see the same. Naturally, I've seen Dak with that same talent level. Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, we talked about Schultz and Tony Pollard come up short, missing the playoffs some years. Other years, it was on the defense, but he gets to the playoffs, and where was he versus the 49ers? There's a good chance the Cowboys win this division, but no one really cares about that, right? Like, the last time they made it to the Super Bowl, I was not alive yet. And the longer we go on this push, the more it feels like Dak is one of those guys that just masquerades himself as a franchise guy when he's good, he's above average, top 10 even some seasons, but the regular season numbers just don't equate to the highest level of performance when it matters most. And I just look back again, second year losing to the 49ers, Jimmy G, Brock Purdy. I'm like, look, if they played the Eagles in the playoffs, Jalen Hurts, a guy that went toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl, what would happen? I think we would clearly see the separator between these two squads.
And that's that's the main thing. Like Jalen Hurts to me is better than Dak Prescott at this point. Stats don't speak for everything. Like I remember when the Texans had Matt Schaub, that bro had numbers. He was not no top 5 or top 10 quarterback. So Dak is like a fringe top 10, top 12 quarterback when he's at his best. But for me, at the end of the day, he can do whatever he wants in the regular season. When the off season comes around, that's when I am not a believer at all. So it's always up to him. He's got to show me something because I'll be straight up. I don't believe in Dak Prescott. I just don't.
Today's Matt Schaub's birthday, by the way, and as peak, he was pulling up 4,700 yards at 300 a game in 09.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Pro bowler.
Kyle Shanahan, man.
He's mid.
Yeah, but that was mostly Andre Johnson and Arian Foster carrying him. But the sentiment is there. Now, what sucked was I think the biggest kicker to the Cowboys season last year was really losing to Jacksonville. If you win that game, you have I'm pretty sure you're the number 1 seed in the NFC, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was really because I think Washington, by the time that happened, I think I'm pretty sure we've had that talk before that the Cowboys would have been the number 1 seed if they beat Jacksonville. So I just think you're right there with them. And yes, Dak has come up short, but he's also come up very big. You obviously know, and I know this is years ago, his rookie debut in the playoffs going toe-to-toe with Aaron Rodgers. Even this year, while he had a stinker and a shitty game against the Niners, against the Bucks, they looked unstoppable. And the only matchup we can look at, and I know you want playoff against Philly, and I can't give you that right now, but what I can give you is late in the season, they played head to head.
His
They
Gardner
played in
Minshew.
Dallas. Dak Prescott looked pretty damn good. 40-34 was the final score. You guys come out on top. I can't give you playoffs. I can give you late season, and you guys came out on top. I'm just saying it looked very different that game when you had Cooper Rush as your starting quarterback and Dak Prescott as your starting quarterback. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, what did Hurts play that game? No, he
Get
didn't.
injured that game. He did. You
But yeah,
just
that
reminded me that he did get injured that game.
He's only played 3 times or 4 times versus the Cowboys. He's 2-2. Yeah.
That's so freaking right, you guys. You guys reminded me that matchup has not really came to fruition. Have they ever played head to head then? Dak and
They
Jalen?
definitely did, but it wasn't this last year,
It
unfortunately.
wasn't this last year.
Yeah,
Okay, so then I stand corrected on that. Apologies for that. So I thought Jalen was there. That killed that whole argument there for that game. But my sentiments still stand from earlier of Dallas Cowboys fixing the needs and Dak hopefully going through a whole season, not getting injured and being able to show up and show out. My one worry is Mike McCarthy and the play calling. That's my only one worry. I think everything else is going to figure it out. I think you guys are going to be a 10 win team, bare minimum. But yeah.
Though, I do think true franchise quarterbacks can overcome that. In that game you were talking about, Prescott played phenomenal, especially down the stretch. And the Cowboys, what do you know, in the second half, win with Dak because the team is that good. They're as quality, as consistent, as capable as the Eagles, especially defensively, by getting Dan Quinn to stay, the secondary in the front seven. I mean, the Eagles just don't have an edge rusher like Micah Parsons, and that is a bigger difference. That's a bigger factor. It's just so disappointing that I think for the Cowboys, they've built this great roster through quality drafts, Woody trades, and generally, when they've made bad signings, they've cut bait with them, that it feels like the last thing missing is just, Prescott isn't quite good enough. And I'm actually a huge fan of this team. I'm expecting them to make a playoff push this year, but even then, you don't have confidence in them being the Eagles in the playoffs because of the quarterback play.
Here's what I want to bring up to Rudy. I don't think it's Dak Prescott, like I've said before. I truly believe that you take out Jason Garrett, you take out Mike McCarthy, and you bring in a head coach that's actually competent and that you actually believe in. A guy like a Harbaugh, a guy like Sean Payton, right? Let me ask you this, Rudy. If Sean Payton is your head coach right now, right, coming into this season, how much more belief do you have in the Dallas Cowboys?
I mean, we're still going to be
Dak specifically, as Sean Payton backing him up. Actually, that's what I want to ask you. How much more belief do you have in Dak Prescott with Sean Payton being your head coach and offensive coordinator?
I still like it. The question is still Dak to me though, man, because once he gets on the field, he's the one that's making the questionable plays sometimes. I do think we'd be better, but we're already damn good.
Okay.
I agree. McCarthy is an average coach. Payton's awesome.
Payton's a Hall of Famer.
The turnover-worthy plays, and I think the lack of consistent composure by Prescott is really the difference. When he's composed, not many better pocket passers.
Yeah.
When he was healthy, not too many better runners of the football too. But at the end of the day, it seems like he tenses up and he presses in the biggest moments, whether that's high-level games in the playoffs, which I haven't seen too many of, this game against elite defenses, and then even at times in the regular season too, where he has bad decision-making.
For me, I guess it's just more that I believe that a Sean Payton can help change that a lot. I think that I'm not going to blame fully Mike McCarthy and Jason Garrett for Dak Prescott's shortcomings on the field and him not having that composure late in games, because it does, kind of start and end with Dak Prescott in terms of that. But what I will say is a guy who's kind of your mentor, your overseer, can really help affect that in terms of your psyche and being more prepared for that moment. And I think Sean Payton has proven himself time in and time out being able to do that. I mean, he's got a big task ahead of him this year with Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos giving them back a resurgence. But I guess I would have you said that you'd be a better team. It's just you think that Dak still on the field is going to make those mistakes when the time comes, and I hear your point. I just think I just hope that he can get through a season basically, and I know he did. What was it, 2 years ago? He got through a season and basically played the entire season, but that was him coming off the injury. Now a horrific injury, I should say, not just a injury, a horrific injury. Now it's going to be he came off kind of a minor injury in the middle of the season. Now I'm hoping full season of Dak Prescott and these guys can get it going.
Yeah, I mean, if like just to end it, if we had Sean Payton, the biggest thing that I'd be happy about is the play calling. Like we'd have better play calling. Like, we're not gonna have linemen running curl routes anymore. So it's because I will blame some of that. We got some dude in the comments talking about he said a bunch of stuff, but it's just play calling is a big factor. It's not. I'm not looking to blame Dak. Like I want him to succeed. I want us to win. I know it starts with him. So yeah, but hey, we don't have Sean Payton, bro. We got Mike McCarthy. So
You got Mike, and drop the mic, Mike McCarthy.
Real quick, how many franchise quarterbacks are there in the NFL? I say 8. I think the cutoff point's right when you get to Prescott.
Let me check real quick.
Mahomes, Hurts,
Burrow,
Herbert,
Allen.
I guess Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Sean
I
Watson.
guess it's disrespectful. Deshaun, I wouldn't say yet. It's been a while. We have to wait a little bit.
Okay. All right.
Personally.
Fair enough.
If you're talking more, the off the field, he's got to prove himself.
Well, on the field too.
Yeah,
he hasn't done anything since 2020.
Well, he didn't play for 2 years, so he'd be
which is
stop doing something for 2 years.
He didn't play well either this year. Outplayed by Kenny Pickett. So yeah, I think Lamar and Trevor would be after Herbert and Allen.
Mahomes, is Rodgers still a franchise quarterback? I believe so.
Yeah. But we'll see in a year.
Let's not talk age, but like you look at him, he's a guy that you can build around for. Like
you trust him. There's just some injury concerns like Stafford. It's just less severe than Matthew.
Burrow is definitely right. Allen, Herbert, is he franchise?
Easily.
Okay. Deshaun, John's iffy. Me and Rudy are kind of more like we believe. Is Russ still a franchise guy?
No.
I still believe that. I think Sean Payton's going to help turn him around. I do believe that.
How much so? Oh, okay. Sorry. I saw this comment. Trevor is overrated. Name me a player that comes back from a 28-point deficit in his first ever playoff game. And then, there aren't too many.
Look at what he's doing with the offensive talent he's got.
Andrew Luck's the only one I could think of. I mean, this kid had de facto rookie year, led his team to the playoffs, got to the second rounds, had one of the better quarterback seasons at age 24. I mean, he's going to be an MVP candidate this year.
No disrespect.
You think he's overrated. I don't know what you're watching, man.
Yeah, if you no disrespect to Burrow and Hurts, right? Because they got to do what they got to do. But let's not kid ourselves. Trevor Lawrence does not have a T. Higgins, a Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase, or a Devontae Smith, an AJ Brown. You don't got those guys. Okay, now he's got a number one in Calvin Ridley coming up. So we're going to see really what Trevor Lawrence is made of. Trevor Lawrence overrated. This guy's.
I mean, he's a great prospect. You're not going to be surprised next year when Trevor throws for 35 TDs, 4,500 yards, and continues to make Christian Kirk look like a top 25 receiver. And Kirk, by the way, is good. He's just not a number one, which he was this last year. Help revive Evan Ingram's career. I just forgot his name. Zay Jones. I mean, think about Zay Jones played for years in Las Vegas with Derek Carr. His best year came with Trevor Lawrence in his second season, and he virtually had the worst quarterback of all time as a rookie. Come on, man. That's just a troll, but I think Trevor Lawrence is the top 7 quarterback because of the arrows trending so far up. You know he's going to be top 8, top 7 by the end of this year.
The guy's a true freaking winner. He's won basically his entire, except for that 1 year with an offense, a head coach who was just a moron, if you're really going to be honest about the situation. So, yeah, he's finally got a competent head coach, and look what the kid can do, right? Come on, man. Haterade. Stop being a hater. Don't hate on greatness. There's no greatness hate.
Yeah, he's been hating for a minute in the comments.
Yeah, I bet you he is. Yeah. Get comfortable in your own skin. Know yourself, I should say. Know yourself. All right.
Nah, this is a troll. I get it. I think the last quarterback though would be Trevor at 6, Lamar 7, Rodgers would be the last one. Oh no, wait, we didn't mention Jalen Hurts. 8 Hurts, 9 Rodgers. The true cutoff is Kyler Murray, and then I would go Dak afterwards. And Stafford is right there. He's just got so many injury concerns.
Kyler's not a franchise guy.
Yeah.
Rudy, what do you think about the Kyler Murray hate? Because I think the way people talk about him is a little bit too much.
This is facts. Tell him, Rudy.
Uh,
Tell him.
I actually really like Kyler Murray.
See? It's not hate.
I just need to see him play. You know, I mean, he's had too many injuries, and we had all the reports come out. I just need to see that man play because when he got to the playoffs, it was terrible, bro. That was one of the worst games I've ever watched in my life, and I'm not gonna get that time back. So, it's Kyler. He can definitely be a franchise quarterback, but I wouldn't be surprised if they at some point move on from him.
The talent is there. It's leadership and up there that's needs to match the talent, and I don't think he has that yet.
Still a top 10 quarterback.
No, he's not a top 10 quarterback.
His talent is great.
Very was brought to the playoffs with this man. Didn't really prioritize Kyler's strengths. You look at their offensive line.
You say that, but they brought in Cliff
game.
Kingsbury, who was literally perfectly built for Kyler. Like that, they had their success in college. That's why they fired their head coach after one season, got rid of Josh Rosen to pair them up.
Too many mesh concepts and
Revisionist history.
routes.
Revisionist history.
Too many routes that Kyler Murray's not tailored for to see over the offensive line.
Yeah. DeAndre Hopkins, they get him D-Hop. That's not good enough.
Who was hurt and suspended the last 2 years.
And when he was on the field, what was he doing?
Won 11 games with D-Hop missing a good amount of time back in 2021.
Yeah.
The point here is Kyler Murray quite clearly is capable of being a franchise quarterback. You give him Sean Payton. I think he's the last quarterback that could win a Super Bowl. Do I question the intangible stuff? No doubt about it. Yes, but his skill set is pretty dynamic. There's not many guys you can find who can do more. And it's not a fantasy football thing. I know the numbers, the draft stock, and the expectations are there for him, but as a player, this is a guy that can win a Super Bowl, and I think that's the last one with Stafford.
I don't have him on that list. No, no, can't do it.
Who's hating on the brothers, man? I mean, I don't think we're hating on nobody.
No, he's just he's being the troll in the chat.
He's trolling. Okay.
Yeah.
With all that being said, that'll wrap up episode 114 of the Wise Guys podcast.
13.
Well, it's actually 14. I thought maybe I'm off. You know, Brandon.
Check the IG post. I'm the one who posts them. 113. Great conversation having with you, Rudy. Let them know where they can find you, listen to you.
Oh yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, I'll shamelessly plug myself. You can follow the Dive In Deep Show. Just find us on YouTube. That's what we need, man. We need the views. So
links will be in the description for that.
We've had John on our show. Man,
Yes,
I'll
sir.
reach out to Brandon, get you on our show. We love having guests on. So
Yeah, no doubt.
it's
I
fun,
love to do
you
it.
know.
Absolutely. If you're looking for NBA, NFL, do you guys talk about any UFC by any chance, or just NFL and NBA?
I'm casual to it.
Me too.
Just because I'm a dad, so I'm asleep by 9:30 most nights.
Yeah.
So I miss I miss all that late night stuff.
Yep.
That's fair. We've all got responsibilities, but
Mhm.
if you're looking for consistent and quality NBA and NFL work, Dive In Deep Show is a great place for you. So be sure to check it out. Links in the description. And as always, till next time.
Stay classy.